Will CM Punk return to WWE at Survivor Series 2023 in Chicago?
Nope. Unfortunately, as much as I would love to see it, we've said many times, and we said after the whole All In at Wembley, like I'm pretty much set that we're never going to see this guy do professional wrestling ever again until he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame for WWE. I could be very wrong, and I would, do you know what? I would pop as hard as anyone because I think it would be something great, but there's no, like, they wouldn't have done the whole thing with Randy and announcing Randy to come back, because ultimately we are going to start getting CM Punk chants again in Chicago in WWE. It's been fine for so long, but they're going to return, and it's like, yeah, it's just going to be one of them things now going forward. But yeah, I'm quietly confident, like 99.97% sure that he will not show up this Saturday.
I have the same rough estimate as you. I want to see CM Punk come back in. I think the best way to have done it would be to have a situation where a War Games member of the babyface Cody Rhodes team is out and CM Punk makes a return and helps. But at the same time, you just put Randy Orton in there. It doesn't make sense. And like you say, Randy Orton was supposed to be the surprise at Survivor Series, but they're aware of the CM Punk rumors. They got cold feet, so they thought, we'll announce it on Raw, but you won't see him till Survivor Series. It's going to kind of feel like that big Survivor Series moment still, that you'll see Randy Orton get the pop for him properly the first time. But CM Punk, they know that if it was kept a complete surprise, people would expect Pepsi film, and they think there'll be a lot of backlash. So WWE have done the sensible thing here and said, no, we're not going to take CM Punk back, and we're going to announce Randy Orton ahead of time. So it's a shame. I do feel, though, that it's not the end of speculation should CM Punk not return at this show. CM Punk will have speculation until he is in a wrestling ring somewhere. But my feeling is, and I've seen comments from Temple, we're going to bring them up shortly, he suggests AEW could still be a stomping ground for CM Punk. I'm going to predict now that we will see CM Punk in TNA Wrestling in 2024. There was a question asked a couple of minutes ago on this stream asking if TNA could get bigger in 2024. The way that they will do that, they could do with a lot of investment, they could do with a bigger TV deal, but certainly something that would help with all that is a big name signee. And a big name signee like CM Punk did move numbers for AEW, especially at the start. You even look, CM Punk got his own show called Collision, which now, let's be fair, ratings wise, is down the toilet. But when CM Punk was there, it got double the ratings because people, whether you like him, you love him, or you loathe him, CM Punk creates headlines, gets people talking. I don't think he'll be at Survivor Series. I'd love to see him come into WWE. I would love to see, even between Survivor Series and WrestleMania, a sign-off, a part-time deal. It's different WWE that CM Punk will be entering in 2023 to 2024 compared to 2014, 2013, the times when he was miserable in that company. He could do a part-time Brock style deal. He could come in when it matters. He can have the big graphic CM Punk returns like we see with Roman each and every time he comes back. CM Punk could get that. And I think the one match, if you're going to do it for a WrestleMania, for me, would be Seth freaking Rollins. Seth Rollins has called CM Punk a cancer. He says he doesn't want him in WWE. However, we mentioned WWE backstage a short time ago. Who was trying to get a match with CM Punk at that time? It was Seth Rollins. A lot of bluff, a lot of ways from Seth. In my opinion, Seth is bluffing. I think Seth wants the match with CM Punk. And Seth has never been billed, and this is the best way to put it. Seth Rollins has main evented a WrestleMania via a cash-in. He has not been billed as the WrestleMania headliner. CM Punk has never headlined a WrestleMania. That match with one another, and now you have two nights of a WrestleMania. I know that adds its own controversies of other matches, full-time players, women's main events, but you could finally do it with Seth and CM Punk, and that could be CM Punk then off into the sunset and would be able to retire on a good note and a high note, and potentially, like you said, a Hall of Fame induction.
You get me so excited for these moments, Steve, because now, like, I'm sitting there thinking, imagine CM Punk comes back and wins the Rumble. He comes out on Monday Night Raw, chooses Rollins as his opponent for WrestleMania. We get that match. What ifs, man? If only. It's the problem is he's just such a controversial character, and it's kind of like you feel that whenever, like you said, TNA, it would be a great shout. Don't think they could afford him, if I'm honest. I think he's too much money, but he's almost like you have to isolate him away from everyone else. Like, it's kind of like, right, Punk, you're going to come in, do this match. That's it, you're done. Don't talk to anyone as you walk in. Don't talk to anyone as you walk out. And that's it. And it kind of feels like that's the way they have to treat him. And it's not right, but I like I said, I don't see him coming back to WWE. Just I think there's too much money on the line when it comes to Punk and WWE with their sponsors and the business, and like now they're owned by TKO and all this kind of stuff. And hell, don't get me wrong, seeing a Punk promo talking about Vince who's no longer there, I think would be fantastic, but I just can't see it happening.
I can't see it happening. The reasoning I think TNA, and you mentioned about budget, there is a potential with that. It could be a pay-as-you-play kind of deal, maybe for CM Punk. I'm not sure, but Ace Steel, of course, is a name that a lot of people know is linked to CM Punk, and of course he's worked as a backstage producer for Bound for Glory. CM Punk was not at Bound for Glory. The Chicago Blackhawks, I believe that's the hockey team, they were playing on that night, so CM Punk was there, and of course Impact's Bound for Glory show was in the Chicago area, but there was tapings the following night, which have been airing the last couple of weeks on Impact TV for the weekly viewers, and CM Punk was backstage for those, was talking backstage with a number of talents, including the likes of Josh Alexander, and Scott D'Amore said he's been good with us, we'd love to have him on board. I feel there's a possibility that something could be done to make it happen. I'm not sure if it will or it won't, but if I had to pick a destination, I think TNA Wrestling could be the place, because they could do with a big marquee name. Obviously Will Ospreay is off the table, he's now all elite. I think Mercedes Moné is a tough one. Obviously she's still expected to go to AEW. I personally would love to see her back in WWE, but her friend Trinity is in Impact Wrestling. But again, like you say, it's a budget kind of thing. Maybe Punk is the best bet for them, because I think Punk, like I said, he does move numbers.
Yeah, and I think like it would be the most crazy and outrageous thing, but can you imagine the amount, like it was like the other week when AEW, when Dynamite was moved to the same night as NXT, and then NXT went and named all them crazy names, and apparently like the regulars that go to NXT couldn't get in because everyone was there to see all these massive superstars. TNA would be exactly the same. Like the amount of eyes that would be drawn to TNA. Hell, even I'd want to watch it, and like I don't even have access to it, but I'd find a way to watch it. But yeah, it would be a great way for TNA to. Imagine he's on the first show back under the rebranding when they go from Impact to TNA. Hell, man, it'd be crazy.
Ironically, that show is a pay-per-view that is called Hard to Kill.
You're good at this game. You're good.
Well, I like this exciting idea that was brought up from Temple Plays as well. Let's go into the comments to see what they've got to say. When you do talk CM Punk, I still think he's the devil in AEW, as the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was conflicting the world he doesn't exist. He doesn't exist to the public eyes. He got fired. He calls it the greatest work in modern history.
It's it's a Brian Pillman moment, because Brian Pillman, I've talked about this before, I'm not sure if we did it live, but me and Steve had the conversation. Famously, Brian Pillman managed to get, I think it was WCW at the time, to actually fire him as part of a storyline narrative, but he did it to go and join another wrestling company. I think it might have been WWE at the time, WWF. It's a proper Brian Pillman moment if it does. Like, I would be like, I've been saying it for weeks that it's still Punk, but you never know, man. You never know.
I would love to see it play out. I would not be against it. However, it's not what I think will happen. As I said, I've given my prediction where I think Punk will go, but I still think I would pop majorly if that was to be the case. But Wrestling Archives does not think CM Punk will be at Survivor Series and doesn't think he'll be coming back to WWE. Ghost Spider says, bold prediction, I think CM Punk and Mercedes Moné will return to WWE in 2024. Punk versus Nakamura for Survivor Series. Obviously, Nakamura has been calling out somebody. I think the entitled person he's calling out is Cody Rhodes.
It's not a bad shout. I think it's more Gunter though. Like Gunter's, like all Gunter's done is just bragged that he's the best Intercontinental Champion ever, and it's kind of like he's kind of coming across as like entitled and so like the way he treated the Miz on Raw as well. It's kind of like very self-centered and stuff. Like it could be in the host of people. It could be like you said with Cody. It's not a bad shout. That's why I said earlier. For me, I just think it's Gunther.
But hey, do you go back to the devil you know? Do you go back to the devil you don't? CM Punk has actually been involved in all three companies in the past. We will see if CM Punk does return to a wrestling ring or not at all ever again.